Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We are back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Again, we're back with the salam, inshallah. And this is a nice, unique opportunity to learn something, inshallah, different, because I see most of you did not know much about this or not know anything about it. So anyways, we go back as long as we understand the big picture. Now, what if we, the question is that what if the seller delivers goods with a quality that is superior to that specified in the contract? Does the buyer have the choice to accept it or not? Someone wants some kind of dates, let's say, that are at a certain quality. Where there's dates, ajwa, that come from the Medina, and there's still different categories of ajwa. There's one that is, very good, that is bigger, darker, and there's one that's a little less in terms of quality. Do you think the buyer has the choice to reject if the seller is giving him something better? I mean, that's a strange question. Anyone wants to give you something better, you probably say, of course. But does he have the choice in this contract? What do you think? No, he does not. You say, no, he does not. We don't have to be straight. No, but if he has a reason, a valid reason to reject, then he can. If he can prove that his opinion or his rejection is justified, then he can say no. But if he has no reason just to say no, then the deal will go, and you get something better for what you paid for. Okay, so that's strange, but that's how it is. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Prophet ﷺ, whenever he had to pay a debt or had to give someone something that he owed him, he weighs whatever he owed him, and he gives him that, and then he says something extra. He says, here, that's extra from him. It's not in the contract. He doesn't say earlier, like before when they started the transaction, that I will give you something better. As long as he doesn't say that, he can give him something better or extra. Okay, so keep that in mind. As long as it's not a condition. Now, what if the seller delivers goods lesser quality? That's a different story now. Something that was said the superior, you have no choice but to accept unless you have a reason, a justified reason. Now, what if it's something lesser, a lesser quality? Can the buyer reject the delivery, and can he request a discount? First of all, can he reject the delivery? He ordered something, and the seller is giving him something with a lesser quality. Does he say, no, give me the same quality? What do you think? Yeah? So that's it, absolutely. He does not have the choice if it was a lesser quality. You got to do same quality or better, that is fine. Now, can he request a discount and accept the delivery? That's another idea of, okay, can you give me a discount, reasonable discount, and still accept it? Do you think that's the case? Would that be, yeah. That's acceptable, okay? I mean, what we're trying to do is to show you how flexible Islam is, because al-asl fil mu'amalat al-ibaha. Al-asl, the original thing about the mu'amalat, that's the different thing about them that you keep in mind, is ibaha. Everything that you see around you is the original state of it is it's mubah, it's halal. You guys say halal, okay, halal. That's the proper way of saying it, okay. So it's halal, but then you start, if someone says, no, this is haram, you tell him, give me your evidence. Give me your evidence. You cannot create something, on the other hand, when it comes to ibadat, you cannot create a way of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's haram. It's prescribed exactly how you should worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it comes with ibadat. So it's haram to worship Him any way you feel like. It has to have evidence. In the mu'amalat is a different story. Al-asl, the original state of it is halal, il-ibaha. And then, as you see, I'm giving you examples to show you it's okay. It's okay unless. It's okay unless. Okay, so keep that in mind as you think about these questions, inshallah. So we said that if it was a lesser quality, he can reject it, and he can, if he wants to accept it, he can ask for a discount. Okay, and he should receive it. Now, delivery may take place before the due date. You can still deliver before the due date, on condition that goods conform to the agreed specification. Of course, they have to agree to the specification, but you can still do it before, as long as it's okay with the buyer. It doesn't have some kind of a reason to reject that. If he has a valid reason, then you say no. But if he doesn't, then he has to accept it. Let's say he doesn't have a warehouse, he doesn't have a place to put this thing in. So then he has a valid reason. But if he does, he has no excuse, then he has to accept it. Okay. What if the seller could not deliver due to insolvency? Remember this one well, please. Let's read this again. What if the seller could not deliver due to insolvency? He could not, because he's not financially able to deliver this for him. Can you stipulate a penalty clause? Penalty. No, that's if he doesn't, then I will get more or I will get paid more. What do you think? Can you? No, you cannot. Why? What would that be? Extra? That's riba. Good job. Thank you. So if he couldn't do it, نظرة إلى ميسرة. He could not. And in Islam it tells you if he can't, then just look at him and make things easy for him until he can. But you cannot force him as other deals somewhere else on non-Islamic. Islamic, then he has to deliver regardless. But in Islam, you look at him. Unless he was able to do it, but he hid that fact. So we look at him as we say in the hadith, مطل الغني ظلم. If he is procrastinating and he is able, then that is dhulm. That is not just. And if we catch him doing that, then he should be, he's violating the contract. But if he couldn't because of insolvency, then that's a different story. Okay, that we excuse him for that. Okay. Options for the buyer. In case al-Muslim fee, we said the Muslim fee is the thing that I'm trying to deliver, the subject matter that I'm trying to deliver. What if it was not available at delivery date? What can the buyer do? What are his choices? Okay, here it is. Buyer may wait for delivery. If it's okay with him, he can wait and nothing changes. And then buyer can cancel the contract and recover capital. He has the choice to do that. He has the right to do it, okay? It doesn't have to be stipulated in the contract. So he doesn't deliver, I can return my money back, or I can wait and get the delivery. Buyer agrees with seller to replace al-Muslim fee, okay? He can have a replacement because the farmer might have some other things that the buyer needs. So he can replace that, okay? We always say that it doesn't stipulate in the contract. We go about it as it happens. What is permissible if both parties agree to cancel the salam in return for recovering payment? Okay, that's another thing. He could not do it, okay, just give me my money back, I'm out of here, I go somewhere else. But again, we say there's no penalty clause. That's what I'm trying to focus on, because that will make it a riba, okay? Just keep that always in your mind, because there will be a manfa'ah, some kind of a benefit he got out of it, and excess, and we're trying to avoid that. There's something called parallel salam. I don't think we should get into it, but it's a quick idea. I am the buyer, and here's the seller. He can go buy from someone else to deliver for me, and I can go sell. I can go buy. How much? Okay, I'm a buyer, and he's a seller. I'm buying something from him in the future. What I can do, I can contract with someone to sell what I'm buying from him later, as long as I don't put this in one contract. I don't put this in the same contract with the seller. I am the buyer, he's the seller. He can go get the stuff that he's trying to sell me from somewhere else, from some other source. That's fine as long as it's not stipulated in the contract, because I cannot have two contracts in one, okay? Because at the end of the day, I am liable, and he is liable. We cannot make other parties liable, okay? So just keep that in mind, and we don't want to get into more into this, Muaz. But all I'm trying to do is just show you an idea of how did they study these investment opportunities that are in front of us that we're not aware of. We can expand so much. So we can get into that. Tfaddal, yeah. Any questions? This is a very good question. He said, how can you make, say it again please, how can you make a contract with another party and you did not take a position yet. That's a very good question. Can anyone answer this? You did not take position. Yes, go ahead, please. A little loud, please. You did not take position, and you hooked up with someone else to sell him what you're about to buy from this person. Yeah, well, no, you are the buyer, and he is the seller, okay? What you did is once you knew that in 3 months you're going to get something from him, you contracted with someone else to sell him what you're about to buy from him. So he is saying, you did not get position yet. How could you sell? You don't. These are two different contracts. Why? Because if you could not deliver to him, you are liable. He's not. If he did not deliver to you, you cannot say, yeah, you cannot hook him up. You cannot make him liable. So most important, do you get it yet or not? You don't have to get position because here's the deal. He did not get position yet from you, but he has another contract with someone else. What if you did not deliver to him? You are not you're just liable with him, but he's liable to the other person, which means if you do not deliver, he will have to find someone else with any price from the market to deliver to the other person. Okay? To the other person after that date. He wanted to do that after a certain date. Let's say after 3 months, after 3 months and 5 days, he has the date with the other person 3 months and 5 days after he hooked up with you. Okay? So he left some time for him to receive and give to the other person. Okay? So once he receives, he gives. But if he does not receive, he is still liable to go find someone else to deliver to the other person, just in case you default. Do you understand? So that's how it goes. But I don't want to get into too much. It's just like a two-way. I just want to show you that there, as a trader, as a merchant, there's so many options out there you can take advantage of. You can make money, and he can deal with so many other people. But sometimes there's an exception to the rule. Most important thing, don't mention any other dealings with other people in this contract. That's what matters. That's your problem to deal with someone else and to deliver to him, whether you receive it from him or not. If you didn't receive it, you're probably going to lose some because you're going to go on today's price from someone else, market price or something. That's the problem. And then that's his problem with you. But you don't, put these two contracts in one, okay? Let's not, if you want more, we can talk a little later about it so I can explain it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. No, it's not permissible. That's why we say it's the most important thing is never to put two contracts in one. And he has no right to put the other person. He said, he can't put at the condition of me receiving from you, I will deliver to you. If he defaults, then he can't. The other person will not know anything about you. All he knows is that buyer right here, that buyer. Okay, so we go from here. I'm moving on because of time-wise. We're looking at sukuk right now. Remember, Brother Zubair spoke about bonds. Bonds is why am I saying bonds? Because it's something we're probably very familiar with. Bonds, what it is you're actually lending money to a company who wants money. Okay, you're just giving them a loan, and they're paying you back the amount, of course, and the interest, which is, of course, the riba. And what they do is they don't have absolutely no say, or they don't really care in any way what the operations results, or the results of the operation of the company is. Whether it's profiting, if it's losing, if it burns, if anything happens, they're still going to get their money, the bonds. But when it comes to sukuk, it's a different story. The company wants to raise money because they want some kind of a project. They're not shares now. Remember, shares is one thing in the whole company. But when it comes to sukuk, is a special, let's say, asset that the company is trying to get. So what they do is they divide the ownership of this asset into certificates, equal amount of certificates, and people will buy this asset, or they buy some kind of a project that goes for like 20 years, 10 years or something. When this is over, they're being paid and they're out. They're done, and they don't vote just like the shareholders. These are two different things. And like I said, the bonds is money, and when it comes to sukuk, it's actually underlying an asset. There's something material, tangible, that they're actually owning. When you're talking about bonds, it's money for money. You know what bonds are. You're lending money, and it's money, it's growing, and this is, of course, haram. We all know that. But when it comes to sukuk, it's actual asset, actual service that's being provided, and that's why when you go sell it, you're selling real stuff, real thing, versus when someone gets rid of his bond, it's just money for money. It's a different story. So let's read on here. Sukuk and bonds are financial instruments issued by governments or companies to raise money from investors, okay? Now, stocks share in the management of the company by voting. Sukuk don't. It's relationship that resembles mudarabah. So what they do is they put some kind of a manager to receive all of these, the money for the sukuk, so they can put them into the project. But are they decision makers? No, they're not. They already looked at the prospectus. They know what the nashrat al-isdar. They know exactly what the sukuk is all about, where they're going to invest their money, and they just put that and they're out. They don't get into like the shares or the stocks, make decisions or vote for the company. None of that happens. So that's the big difference between shares and stocks and sukuk. Okay. Now, sukuk and bonds, this is a very important thing. This is a very important slide that really clarifies the point I'm trying to say. So again, it's the sukuk is ownership of a real asset. Okay, you're actually owning an asset. Like we said, the bonds are just lending. You're just it's money. Okay, debt. The sukuk are Sharia compliant assets, meaning you cannot. They have been screened. You cannot let's say. You're absolutely sure that they're not going to be in, let's say, investing in alcohol, in pork, in military equipment, any of the haram stuff that we're not supposed to invest in. But of course, the bonds, any other assets can be, you can get into them, buy bonds that will cover any other assets. But in sukuk, no, they're just very limited. Variable versus fixed. Variable, why? Why is sukuk variable? Because it goes by the result of the operation or the project that you're in. Meaning, you might have profits tomorrow. In a few months, you might lose a little bit and then have profits. And depending on that, you have a variable returns, okay? But on the bonds, it's just the same fixed amounts that just continues to keep going, okay? Because it's money for money. But like I said, the asset, it's profits and losses. Why? Because you are actually, the single most important thing is you are actually sharing in the risk of the project. That is the most important thing you need to understand. Al-ghunm bil-ghurm, meaning if you ever want profit, Islamically, you have to share in the risk. And that's a very important thing. You can't just say, I want profit and for nothing, just for money and growing from it, become richer, and the poor becoming even poorer, just for giving money and getting money back. You can't do that. So in sukuk, you're actually investing in real assets, and in return, you're getting whether these assets are generating income or there are some losses there. And you are you're a shareholder of these certificates. You're part of it. So that's why we say it's variable. It's a great way of investing versus bonds, of course. And alhamdulillah bil alameen, we have that. You can do it. It's just at the beginning, they used to call them actually sanadat, which means bonds. And it started in Malaysia at the beginning. And then they said, no, this is, people don't seem to understand. We said that we will call it Islamic bonds. And then they gave them the name sukuk because now people feel more, more at peace doing that. So just to show you how careful this has to be Islamically, read the first one. Sukuk prospectus must not include any statement that the issuer of the sukuk accepts the liability, nor that he guarantees a fixed percentage of profit. You want to invest, go ahead and invest, but I'm not going to guarantee anything. I'm not going to guarantee anything. That's what the company is saying. So you actually read, you like it, you invest. You don't, you don't. We don't have to make every effort to guarantee or go out of our way. Now, the following guarantees are not prohibited. There are some guarantees that will make you feel better, make you feel at peace to invest into sukuk. This is one of them. It's permissible to an independent third party, not the company itself that is selling the certificates or the sukuk. A third party can guarantee, can come in and say to provide guarantee as long as it's free of charge. Free of charge, okay? Now, it's permissible to the issuer to offer guarantees regarding its wrongful acts or negligence. Yeah, it's almost like the insurance kind of a thing. I want to make sure that you feel good, so I admit that any problem that is intentional or wrongful doing, I will be liable for it as a company, okay? And it's permissible for the issuer to undertake to underwrite the unsubscribed issue, no commissions in return. So they tell you, within this certain time, we are going to sell these certificates. If there's not enough people to subscribe, we are going to take the rest. The company says that. We'll buy, we get going, because they don't want to keep you hanging for the next year waiting to reach that point where, they have enough people to, subscribe or to underwrite. Okay, so they take that upon themselves as a company. That's acceptable. All right, that makes you feel good to know that within a certain period of time this will be covered and the business will go. Types of investment, stocks, sukuk, and practical examples. I would like to give you just a quick example and move on. This happens a lot in governments, governments and corporations, and this is like, governments. The first thing that they would do is when they want to do any kind of project, they want to build an airport, they want to make like a ministry building, park, anything. What they do is they might raise taxes here. People don't like that. Instead, they ask you to be a partner, make some money, and what you do is once you pay us for all this, we build, we finish, but you give us the condition that we're going to take it back from you, because they don't want you to own a park, a public park, or the airport or something. So you at the condition that you give it back to us, we will keep on renting this from, or lease this to us. At the end, we take it back, as the government will do. So that's what the sukuk is all about. That's the sukuk and ijara. So you have a gist of it. I don't want to get into many other examples that might get you a little confused. Okay, we talked about this. Brother Zubair spoke about shares and bonds. I don't want to go much into this. Let's talk a little bit about riba, which is why, because we're going into trading in currencies. One of the things that a lot of people not comfortable or think that maybe Islamically I cannot do it. Yes, you can, as long as you understand. As long as you understand a little bit about riba. And riba is so deep, and it does take time to understand and get an idea about it. But we'll say the least we can. Let me just go back here. Okay, so riba in general is excess. Okay, it's an addition, it's an increase. Riba, let's put it into two categories. There's a riba that's called riba duyun, and there's riba called riba buyu'a. Riba duyun is something that we have a consensus over. This riba duyun from scholars saying that this is haram, and it's the easiest and most clearest way of riba. You come to me, you want money, I give you money, and I demand an interest, and that extra is riba. And you come back after a month, you could not pay me, so I will add more, so that the 1,000 has to come back 1,200, and the 1,200 after the month, if you can't pay it, you add it to, you add more to it, 10% or whatever it is, it becomes 13 until you pay it, 13, 14. So that's extra stuff is the very clear case that from the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, it was called riba nasi'a. Nasi'a. That is the one that we're not going to talk about because the clear so just that when you get the student loan, the mortgage on your house, the car loans, I mean, all of the stuff that the conventional banking do, that the kind of loans, that's what we're talking about. Now, the one that's not clear to many people, and we don't want to dive too much into it, but we will say just enough to cover the next stage, which is the trading in currencies. Riba al-Biyu', Prophet ﷺ talked about a hadith, one hadith, that the scholars just start with this hadith. He talks about 6 different items. 6 different items that if you do deal with these 6 different items, they will you will have to watch for certain rules about them. Now, again, we're not talking about the duyun, we're talking about biyu'. The duyun, we all agree, it's haram, and no one will say otherwise. We're talking about just one type of riba that you will always keep talking about, we might get confused about. So he talked about the 6 items. He started with the silver and the gold, and then the tamar, which is the date, and the salt, and the barley, and the wheat. These 6 items were looked at by the scholars to make sure that we draw conclusions out what do they mean, that just the 6 items, or do they represent categories that have a certain illah, certain reasoning, or certain justification that we can actually do qiyas, analogy on, okay? So let me just quickly tell you, we have 4 schools of thought that are major, that are very well known, you know, the Shafi'i, Hanbali, Hanafi, and Maliki. And then there's one more that they call it like the 5th madhab, which is the Zahiri, by Ibn Hazm Andalusi. He, you know, the 5, and I'd say most of the scholars will look, of course, at the Quran as a source of opinion, to get their opinion from there. If they don't find it there, they go to hadith. If they can't, they go to ijma', which is consensus. And then if they don't, they go to qiyas. Qiyas is drawn analogy, finding the illah, to see what is that special thing that the reasoning behind something or an opinion. So al-Zahiri, they only look at the Quran and the hadith and the ijma'. They don't look at the qiyas. So what they said, the Zahiri said, these 6 items by Prophet ﷺ, the gold, the silver, the dates, the salt, the wheat, the barley, these 6 things are only the items that we have, we call it rabaw biyu' on them. Other than that, we're not drawing any conclusion. We're not go deeper. We're not going to say that there's a illah or anything. So that's al-Zahiri, we take him out. I'm going to give you one example about one other scholar, which is the Shafi'i, and we don't want to get to the rest of them, so we can move on quickly. The Shafi'i said quickly, so you can understand what I'm saying. He said the reason why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Prophet Muhammad said, he chose the silver and the gold because they call it the thamaniyya or a naqdiyya. It's currency, it's cash. That's why anything that we can consider as cash or as currency should be treated with in the same manner we treat with silver and gold, which is, if you want to exchange gold for gold, it has to be the same exact weight and same, it's alike and simultaneous. You have to exchange that at the same spot. You can't leave and say, I will get back to you tomorrow. On the spot. Do you have that? Even if it was old gold, new gold, all of that. A woman who wants to go and exchange gold for gold, she goes into the store and she will, let's say, I want to get, instead of my necklace, I want to get bracelets. So what she will do is she will go to the guy, he weighs it, let's say it's 100 grams. 100 grams of what? Of gold. She can exchange that for 100 grams of gold of bracelets, okay? And as long as he does it on the spot, doesn't matter how much labor was put into it, how much, beautiful it was, we go to the weight. Now, the question is that what if, are you with me? What if the gold was 18 karat and she wants to exchange it for 24? It's gold for gold. Is that okay or is that not? What do you think? No, it's not. Now, when you say 18, yeah, but 18 has a mixture of other, metal with it. So it's not as pure as a 24. So as long as it sticks to that carat thing to be the same, like this is 18, it's 18, 24, 24. Okay, just an idea. So all I'm saying is that Shafi'i looked at that and he said, the illa is the thamaniya. And then he looked at the tamr, the date. He said, okay, the tamr, why did he choose tamr? Because it means every fruit. It applies to every fruit. Tamr is a fruit. Tamr is date, fruit. And then look at this. He looked at the melih, the salt. He said salt is for fixing, islah. It fixes the food, it changes the taste, it makes it better, all that. So he's considered it a medicine. So he said any medicine goes under salt. Any medicine goes under salt. Any fruit goes under dates. Anything that's a currency exchange is silver and what do you call it? Silver and gold. Now the last part, and we move on quickly so we can go and eat soon. He said the barley and the wheat, they are qut. Qut means, when you say qut, it changes from a country to another, from a city to another. What is the most major thing that we have, let's say in Jordan? Jordan is, let's say, the rice probably, and maybe, what else is the major? The qamh or wheat. Here in this country, it could be corn and something else. So the qut of that city, that country, anything that is considered qut goes under this category, which means you have to, if you exchange it with the same amount and simultaneous when you do the same thing. Now, if you change it with something else, that's a different story. We're just trying to be quickly about it. Now, one thing about the Shafi'i and Maliki, and we move on. Shafi'i said he couldn't imagine that in the future we will ever have anyone exchanging currency in anything other than silver and gold. Maliki said no. Anything that is considered a medium of exchange applies to the silver and gold. Do you understand? So he really was looking ahead and like what we're doing in our days. So let's just move on quickly. I just wanted to show you because you might say, why do they change? Why do they differ? Why do they, the scholars back then, they had many reasons why they did that. No.
If the sisters could please go ahead and get started, inshallah. And then after the sisters are done, the brothers can go ahead and eat. In the meantime, you can please continue.
Sure, okay, all right. Because we don't have that much time. We'll just try to make it quickly here. Go ahead.
The brothers are waiting for you, sisters. Thank you.
Okay. Just quick bullet points that might really help you out, and the depth maybe some other time. We'll go from there. Okay. We covered this. Okay. We said that position must be established for the whole amount of the contract at the closing of the transaction. Okay. Position of sales and currency, because currency is actually sales. You're buying and selling, right? So the whole amount has to be established. You cannot partially do that, okay? And then position of one of the counter values by one party without position of the other is not enough. I just said that. Okay. A question that you might quickly think about. Is taking partial position valid, or does it nullify the whole contract? The whole contract. You are about to exchange, and you just did half of the amount for the exchange. Is this acceptable or is it not? Or do you have, I just said you have to do the whole amount. What if you couldn't, you just had half of the amount? What would you do? Whatever was whatever the transaction was about, or whatever happened in that transaction is acceptable. And anything outside that transaction is not acceptable. It's nullified, okay? That's one. Exchange of currencies that are debts owed between parties, it is permissible. Let's say I owe you some money, you owe me some money. We call it in Arabic maqasa. The difference, we can do some exchanging during that. So you owe me, I owe you, it's okay. All right, the answer is yes, quickly. And as long as we do that on the spot, like I said, at the exchange rate on the day. Okay. Is transfer money in a currency different? Okay, not permitted of customers. All right, we don't have to. All right, I would like to end here because it's really getting deeper. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you have, thank you. If you have any questions, if you need questions, I'm available. Unless you just go ahead and when they finish, you can get started. Thank you.
Yeah. So my question is that most of the time, somebody will say that, I mean, you have $1,
Yeah.
and you want money in Jordan Riyal or Saudi Riyal,
Yes.
or you
Yes.
know, different currency.
Yes.
And then you give it to him. When he pay back, sometimes the change of those currency
Yes.
are different.
Yes.
Is that considered riba if he give you a little extra, or based on the current value
If
of
it's
that?
the same, if it's the same currency, different values, that's riba. But if he chooses another one, then that's fine. If you, let's say it's an Egyptian sterling versus, because a lot of people get confused. Just because I call it sterling, that's like the what do you call it, the Australian sterling and the Egyptian sterling. Just because I call them sterlings doesn't necessarily mean that they're alike. And what I mean by alike is Egyptian as an Egyptian. You can exchange them even if it was $100 versus 50, 20, you know, coins. It's in the same. It's considered the same currency. If the currency changes, it's okay because we have a change of did the rates and all that stuff.
So basically,
Is that your question?
yes. So basically, we gotta go back to the rate.
Yes, of course, yeah, yes. The rate, if it's the same currency, right?
It's a different currency. Talking about Egyptian pound
Yes,
and American dollar, for example.
yes.
So the change is always going to, I mean, the value is always going to change.
At the day of transaction,
Yes.
yes, that's what you go by, right?
So we got to go at the date of transaction,
Yeah,
but the value, it become less, for example.
yes.
So the Egyptian,
if you want
dollar,
to come here instead of talking like that, yeah, I really want to understand because we were talking about two different currencies. That's the most important thing. Yeah, just come to me. No, thank you. Yeah, you can.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If everybody could just keep the person and the people behind them in mind when they're taking their food and try to move as quickly as possible, we really appreciate it. Jazakumullah khair. If there's food left over at the end, you're more than welcome to take seconds. That's not a problem. But please be cognizant of the person in line behind you when you're taking the food the first time. Jazakumullah khair.